Hello boys and girls, welcome to my channel, I'm ForClassic and welcome to BenchART. So for today what I do have in here is Yakuza 3 Remastered, a game developed by Ryoga Gotoku Studio, and it was ported over to the PC by Keylock. So Keylock is a well-known studio that ports games to the PC. Most of the Japanese games have been ported by these guys and they actually do a nice work doing these type of ports. Anyway, Yakuza 3 was originally released in 2009 and it was remastered and released for the PS4 in, I guess, 2019, but now we have available on the PC and the Xbox. So I'm running the game at 720p and I made some changes in here, so I'm using texture quality at high, anisotropic filtering at 4, shadow quality and load distance at minimum. And I decided to use FXAA because it's not very demanding. But I was using a lock to 30 frames per second because Yakuza 3, it is one of those games which, you know, the animations and the way that the game works doesn't support frame skipping, which means that if you select, for example, 60 frames per second and you don't have those 60 frames per second, you just have the game running in slow motion. And that's not what you want. So in my opinion, you should lock the game to 30 frames per second, and by doing that your game will be running at full speed instead of being running at slow motion. In any other game this stuff don't really happen, but Yakuza, it is an old game and it was created to be tied to a certain frame rate because it was a console release, so sometimes it is impossible to create arbitrary frame rates. So this is the results that I decided to try and test it out on a very crowded area. And at the low settings, which looks horrible by the way, I got an average of 47 frames per second on 1% below 40. So as you can see, I wasn't really able to get 60 frames per second. So I would need to lock the game at 30. So because of that, I also decided to create this custom setting that I'm using, which is the textures on high, isotropic at 4, shadow and load at minimum, and FXAA. Enabled, and with these settings I was able to get 30 frames per second all the time. And if I decide to go with median settings instead, I started to notice some drops in the performance. So that's why my recommended settings, it is to go with the settings that I told you and the settings that you saw. For some reason, if you find some drops in frame rates in more further areas into the game, there might be areas more demanding than these ones, and if we find some drops in frame rate, my recommendation, it is to go to the render scale option and decrease it a little bit from 100% to 90% or something like that until you get the desired performance that you want. So that's the way it goes. In case you have a better GPU but you still have the same CPU, in crowded areas the CPU might be an issue, alright? Unfortunately, in very crowded areas, this CPU struggles a little bit, and as you can see, the CPU usage, it is very high at around 80% to 90%. So, depending on the settings that you are using, sometimes the CPU can reach 100% and bottlenecks the GPU. So if you have a better GPU, some areas the performance might be the same for you because of that. Alright, if you have a worse CPU like an i3 from the 4000 generation, your performance might be affected on those specific areas. Alright, so that's I think that's all that I want to talk about the performance. But I mean, what about the game? Well, Yakuza 3 follows pretty much the gameplay of the predecessor, so it's pretty much the same thing. It was released in 2009 originally for the PS3, but now we got this remastered version, which is available for the PS4, PC, and also now Xbox. So the good thing about it is that we finally have nearly all the Yakuzas on the PC, and it's nice to finally you have these old games that I don't know, many people might have a PS3 before and decide to sell it and buy a PS4 or buy a PC or anything like it. And if you are one of the guys that are missing those games, it is nice to have them in the PC and at a great price. So for example, if you want to buy Yakuza 3 solely, I mean only the Yakuza 3, you can go to Steam and buy the game for 20 euros. So I don't think it is expensive given the experience that Yakuza grants us. But if you want to buy a full package with the Yakuza 3, Yakuza 4 and Yakuza 5, which is the complete remastered collection, which are free games. So it's on sale on Steam for around 40 euros. So it's like you pay for 2 games and you receive free, because if you are going to play standalone Yakuza 3, Yakuza 4 and Yakuza 5, you will pay about $60 or 6 euros, because it's 20 euros each one of them. But if you pick up the pack containing Yakuza 3, 4 and 5, you will be only paying 40. Or better deal ever, if you have Xbox Game Pass, I will let you know that you now have the Yakuza collection available there, which means that if you are a Xbox Game Pass subscriber, you have now access to the games and you can install Yakuza collection, which again includes Yakuza 3, 4 and 5. Yakuza 6, I think it will be debuted to the PC later this year. I'm not 100% sure about it, but I think yes. And when that happens, I think we will have the full collection of Yakuza. There is still other games missing, like not inside the Yakuza series, but it is developed by the same developer team, which is the Judgment. It's a game that I want to also see on the PC, coming from the same developer team. But for now, reaching the end of this year and having the entire collection of Yakuza on PC, I think it's a great deal. And for people that love this type of game, you should really go for it. And in case you don't know what type of game this is an open world game which contains tons and tons and tons of conversation. Alright, it's that type of Japanese game where you talk a lot and go and do weird fetch quests. It's goofy, it's very goofy, alright. And it is a brawler and contains tons of mini quests and mini games, and that's why Yakuza is well known, because it just contains so much stuff, weird stuff inside the game, that it makes it funny. So, and contains all the typical anime Japanese goofiness stuff on the talk. You know, it's very Japanese title, alright. And it is also the main thing in combat in this game. It is being a brawler, alright. So you just evolve your character and you get into yourself inside into these brawling events where you need to fight multiple enemies at the same time. In this video you will be only seeing me fighting this one, but you can see that I can pick up anything like bicycles, tables and chairs and hit them up. So since I've never finished or even played decently Yakuza before, I don't really know how to fight decently. I'm pretty sure there are tons of tricks that I can use, but unfortunately on this video I just tried to beat the guy and I didn't knew too much how I could perform those nice tricks. So I'm sorry for that. So guys, I think that's all that I want to talk about Yakuza 3. Hope you keep enjoying the rest of the video, and I do hope to see you soon. Goodbye.
こいつは。
どうだ、内地の腰抜けのおっさんのパンチは痛かったか？約束だ。お前の親父のところに案内してもらおうか。
はい、わかりました。
ええ。
じゃあ。こちらです。どうぞ。今、親父を呼んできます。少しお待ちください。
おう、待たせたな、客人。あんたが桐生さんか。うちの力也が可愛がってもらったようだな。
あんたに話があってきた。
ああ、立ち退きの件だろ。
そうだ。どうして俺らが立ち退かなきゃならないのか、訳が知りたい。
さっき、おいさっき、ちょっとこのおじちゃんと話があるんだ。部屋に戻っててもらえるかな。